Hey, Kyle. Yes, sir. We're up to 8 now. 8 on the Misfits. Nice. Who's the new? Oh, we'll talk. Okay. Sometime. Yeah.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call.
Snellings. Present. Barris.
Here.
Behrens.
Here.
Keating.
Present.
Beichman.
Present.
Throm. Schrader.
Present.
Garacki.
Present.
Quorum is present.
Thank you. First of all, we have approval of minutes from the regular meeting, February 24th.
Move to approve regular meeting minutes for February 24, 2025 as written.
Second.
Okay, it's moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Now we have public comment. Comments in this portion of the meeting are held to a maximum of 5 minutes. Prior to making comments, please give your first and last name, your address and ward, and anyone who would like to speak, please feel free to come forward at this time.
I'm Brittany Owens-Gracke, 1307 May, 1200 Broadway, Wards 1 and 4, because I arguably live in the dental office. I'm here to urge you to vote yes on allowing chickens in our town. Beyond the practical benefits of fresh, healthy food from our own backyards and natural composting to reduce waste, chickens offer something special for our children. Raising them teaches them responsibility through daily care, feeding, upkeep, giving them a hands-on lesson where food comes from and how to nurture living things. It's an educational experience that builds patience, accountability, and a connection to nature, all while being fun and rewarding for our children. Many towns have successfully adopted this with simple rules to manage noise, cleanliness, and space. I believe we can too. Please vote yes to enrich our community with this sustainable, family-friendly opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Mayor and council members, my name is Robin Rose. My address is 1701 Carolina Street, and I am in Ward 4. And I am here to speak about the chickens, although I am not for it. As we all know, chickens are a very dirty bird. The baby chick season is approaching and the price of eggs continue to skyrocket. I'm sure people will be tempted to raise chickens. Raising chickens has several cons, including high maintenance, health concerns, and potential for disease to spread. Chickens can carry salmonella, E. coli, and the bird flu, which can be passed on to humans. Rats and mice are attracted to the chicken feed. Chickens can be susceptible to lice, mites, and worms. Not to mention, they can cause yard damage, noise, smell, and it's expensive to build a chicken coop or to buy one. And waste management. What are we all going to do with the chicken poop? I don't think temps would like it to be put into their dumpster. Most chickens do not start laying eggs until about 5 months old, and baby chicks need to be kept at around 95 degrees. So there is a lot of care in the maintenance with chickens. When chickens molt, the chicken will stop laying eggs for a period of time. They get really ugly. They lose their feathers and just not a very pretty bird. Chickens, they don't lay as many eggs in the winter months. And my question is, who will enforce the laws? Will we need to hire another code enforcement officer? You know, it just seems like there are so many things in the city of Marysville that needs to be enforced, but is not. You know, I just think chickens will take away from the other laws that we have. I don't think the city council should have a higher priority. I think they should have a higher priority to the people of Marysville than to let chickens come to town. Things like affordable housing, better roads, trash in yards, and what about the dogs running at large? I know there's a leash law, but I see a lot of dogs. So I hope the council does their research on this whole chicken thing and do the right thing by not letting them come to town. Thank you.
Thank
For your time.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there anyone else who'd like to come forward?
Rob Shelburne, 705 North Street, Marysville, Kansas, Ward 3, I believe. Tonight I'd like to talk about why we should allow people to keep chickens and how it could actually help benefit the community. I know a lot of folks are looking for ways to be more self-sufficient. Having chickens gives people the chance to provide for their families. It's not just about having fresh eggs, it's about being able to take care of your own needs. And with some simple rules in place, this could be a pretty straightforward way for folks to help themselves and keep their food costs down. I know some folks are worried about people not being able to take care of the birds, but we already have someone in place to enforce rules. With permits and inspections, we can make sure everything's done right. I'm going to guess the fees from those permits could help cover the cost of enforcement, making sure the thing runs smoothly. We're not talking about just letting anyone do whatever they want. We're talking about making sure it's done properly for everyone's peace of mind. I get people worry about what ifs. What if someone doesn't take care of their chickens? What if they make too much noise or cause a nuisance? But here's the thing, if we stop things because of what ifs, nothing's going to get done. We've got rules, we've got enforcement, we have ways to make sure things are done right. Worrying about what might go wrong stops us from moving forward with something that could bring a real benefit to the community. We can't let fear of the unknown keep us from doing what's right. Sometimes it feels like people spend more time worrying about what's going on in other people's backyards than focusing on their own. If someone is properly taking care of their chickens and following the guidelines, why should it matter what they're doing on their property? We're a community that values personal responsibility, and that should extend to being responsible with what we do on our own land. If folks are abiding by the rules, it's not hurting anyone else, and it's their right to make choice for themselves. For a quick search online, there's several towns around us that already allow chickens. Kansas City lets you have 6 hens. Lawrence, Lenexa, Olathe, Beatrice, Nebraska, Clay Center, Kansas, Blue Rapids, Kansas, Lincoln, Omaha. So it's not just small towns, it's also large communities. Now I know some of you might be thinking it could actually cost more to raise chickens than buying eggs at the store, but let's break it down. Right now, eggs at Walmart are going for about $6 a dozen. That's per online. If you have 6 hens and one can lay around 300 eggs a year, meaning you get about 1,800 eggs a year, that's $6 a dozen. That's about $900 a year for just eggs. On the other hand, the cost of raising 6 hens, including feed, basic care, and necessary supplies per Google, is around $200 to $300 per year. And here's the thing, chickens can eat a lot of food scraps and vegetable peels, stuff like that. That means you can cut down on the amount of commercial feed you buy and even save money. You're not just lowering the cost of eggs, you're also reducing food waste and getting your money's worth for what you already have. Plus, chickens help with pest control. They love eating insects, weeds, and small pests like ticks and beetles. Having them around, you'll naturally reduce the number of bugs in your yard, which means less need for harmful chemicals and pesticides. It's also an added bonus that keeps your property healthier and safer. Also, farm fresh eggs from your backyard last longer than store-bought eggs. You don't have to refrigerate them right away, and they keep better, which helps reduce spoilage and waste. So you're saving money, you're getting healthier eggs, you're cutting down on trips to the store. In the long run, it's not just about eggs, it's an investment in self-sufficiency, better quality of living, saving money, and keeping your yard pest-free. Here in our rural community, many families are connected to agriculture in some way, whether it's through jobs or lifestyle. While not everyone lives on a farm, agriculture is a strong part of the community and values we share. Allowing chickens in town could offer a great opportunity for families, especially kids, to engage with the agricultural world with a hands-on way. Kids who may not have access to traditional farm equipment or an environment could still have a chance to raise chickens, learn about animal care, gain valuable skills for the future. Programs like 4-H are a great way for kids to get involved in agriculture. But many city kids miss out because they don't have the space or the resources. With chickens in town, it could give them an outlet to explore or even spark interest in farming and agriculture-related careers. These small opportunities can build a connection between younger generation and the agriculture industry. A connection we're missing as we see more and more people move out of rural areas in search of work. By giving kids a chance to work raising animals, we could be nurturing a future workforce that understands agriculture, giving us an edge when it comes to qualified workers down the road. So I'm asking for a chance to let people in town keep chickens with some common sense rules in place. It's about more than eggs. It's about giving folks a way to take care of themselves and their families. And for the next generation, it's about helping kids learn valuable life skills that will keep them connected to agricultural roots and give them opportunities in the future. Let's give people the freedom to do this in a way that makes sense for us here, and let's keep it manageable and fair to everyone. Thanks for your time, and I ask for your support to make this happen.
Thank
you.
Thank you.
Rory Clark, Ward 2, I believe, 1302 Walnut. In favor of chickens. I don't have a big fancy speech or anything, but I feel like this has been going on for like 30 years. I remember in high school, we had some chickens unbeknownst that there was a code at the time. Our chickens and ducks never left the yard. We had a pen for them. They stayed in the yard. They were easy to keep clean. They were chores for us in high school and junior high, as you speak of, keeping just good habits for the kids. Got a passion for animals at that point. Our ducks were, I would go as far as say domesticated, because our one chicken would come and sit on your lap. You'd come sit down on the front porch, it'd hop up there and just sit there, and you'd pet it like you would a cat. So I can't say that they were all about having eggs. Yeah, okay, eggs are great. Their companionship as well, right? I mean, if we can have a parrot in the house, or we can have lizards in the house, what's the big deal about having ducks and chickens in the yard? Feel to some extent that the people complaining about it are worried about the people that aren't going to take care of them. Well, what about the people that don't take care of their own yard? You can't worry about those people. We can worry about them, and we need to have rules in place to help that, but we can't punish the people that are going to do it correctly and abide by the law and try to do these things right and enjoy the joys of just having fowl in the yard. So I would also ask you to not only in favor of having chickens, but consider ducks and to some extent quail, because what I've been doing research on quail, they seem, if you're looking for eggs, they're a way better egg production than chickens would be. Chickens are companionship and 4-H, and ducks would be the same way, but if you're looking for eggs, quail would be pretty good there too, and there's plenty of other codes around with people that allow all three. There's some exclusions in ducks, Muscovy, and other stuff that kind of get loud, but I would ask you to consider more than just chickens, and keep in mind more than just eggs, right? I don't think most of the people that want chickens or ducks or quail are fully just worried about having good egg production, because it's going to be easier to go to Walmart, as most of us know. So, thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
I'm Christina Miller. I live at 1306 Park Place, Marysville, Kansas. I'm Ward 1, and I would highly encourage you to favor towards the chickens. Not only are they good for our kids to learn, chores, responsibility, they're good egg source, but in the end, after a couple years, they're a good food source of nutrients that we know what was fed with them, what they had. Walmart chickens, a lot of saltwater additives are put inside their chicken, and it's not really as healthy for you as you would imagine. I know some people are worried about the cost of chickens and in my opinion, it doesn't cost any more to raise 5 or 6 chickens than it would if you had 2 great big dogs. You still gotta feed them, which they go through pounds and pounds of feed a month. You got bedding, you've got toys, you've got treats, you've got all the expenses that go with the dog, where chickens, you don't have as much expense because you can use table scraps to feed them and different items. You don't have to just stick to the chicken feed. And in the end, people spend a lot of money on their dogs, and yet most of us don't eat dog. But yet, chickens, what you're putting into them, you're also getting out of them not only in eggs, but in a food source. So I would highly encourage you to vote for chickens. At one point, our neighbors had ducks until city found out. For the longest time, none of the neighbors even knew they had ducks in their backyard, except for they had a doghouse inside of a kennel with a heat lamp. Once my kids found out that the neighbor had ducks, it devastated them when they had to get rid of them, because they went over there every Sunday and helped clean out the duck pen and helped put bedding in, and it showed them responsibility. It was a way that I could tell them, if you don't do this, you can't do duck chores. But they were still more than willing to help, and it was extremely upsetting to my children when the neighbor had to get rid of their ducks. So I hope you put lots of thoughts towards the different ways that chickens actually would be a good improvement to Marysville.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to come forward and speak this time?
My name is Gabriel Galindo. I just moved to this area, originally from San Diego, California. I know nothing about raising chickens, but by shooting me in the foot before taking on the responsibility kind of sucks. I'd like to learn how to take care of something besides taking care of myself. I mean, there's a lot of more stuff that I could be doing and getting in trouble with, but if I'm trying to find something to do to keep me occupied and save a little bit of change, I think that'd be a good opportunity. But if you guys take away the opportunity of me trying to do something positive and learn how to do, kind of like messed up, you know what I mean? I'm for the chickens. A little nervous, hold on.
Okay.
No problem.
We're good.
This guy had a very good speech. He brought some paperwork. I agree with them 100%. But I would like the opportunity to learn how to raise some chickens, and, you know, if anything goes to south or whatever, that's food. You know, you could eliminate the problem right off the bat. But just having the opportunity to learn how to take care of that and experience that in life would be nice. And that's about it. I don't know what else I need to say.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gabe.
Thank you.
Sterling Clark, I live at 406 North 11th Street, Ward 2, I believe. I'd just like to say I'm in favor of having chickens in town, ducks, quail, whatever, within reason. I'll even comment on the worry about poop as well. We have dogs that poop around too, and people clean that up. I'm sure that ends up in Tim's dumpster too, so I think it's just a matter of you're gonna clean it up. If you're gonna take care of the chickens, you take care of your dogs the same way. You're gonna have your people that don't take care of their dogs or their pets, you know. Cat poop, well, people have cats in their home, where does that stuff go? It goes in your trash can at home and it ends up in the dumpster. So I feel like chickens would be the same type of deal, so I would urge you to vote yes for the chickens. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sterling.
Hello, my name is Lily Shelburne. I live on 705 North Street and I'm on Ward 3. I would like to say that we should vote for the chickens because from a child point of view, kids are kind of everywhere. We're on devices a lot. I can't say that I'm not guilty of that, but having us be able to go out there and have something to do, or give us entertainment from the chickens, have us learn responsibility, it'd be a great help and a great learning experience for the students of Marysville.
Thank
you.
Okay, would anybody else like to come forward at this time? Seeing none, we will move on to business and discussion items. First up, we have the fireworks ordinance. Bernita Peaks.
Is this microphone on?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I spoke with you last August 12th about fireworks because I had a very bad experience with a whole bunch of fireworks being shot off across the street, onto my property, onto my driveway, onto the north side of the house, onto the east side of the house, onto the west side of the house. I proposed at that time that this addition be made to the Marysville fireworks ordinances. No person shall ignite or discharge fireworks to discharge or cause residue to fall into or go onto property of other than the person igniting or discharging the fireworks. In other words, you shoot off fireworks, you shoot them off on your property, not on mine, which is what was going on. At that time, there was no discussion here with this group. There was one question. I think that Councilman Keating, you asked about enforcement of this, and I would suggest that it would be enforced the same way that the present one is, that says you don't shoot them in the street either, which means you call the police to report, or the sheriff's office to report the problem, and they come and take care of it. I went to I was not able to follow up immediately with this. I've had some medical problems, and so there was a meeting scheduled. You said meet with the committee. I went to that committee meeting October 2nd. No one had called me with any questions or anything in the meanwhile. So I provided the material which you now have a copy of, which was a U.S. government document about fireworks and the impact on the health of particularly children and people 80-something like me. So I got to the committee meeting, and I wanted to point out that I had not been able to say in the council meeting that I was unable to even go out into my own yard while all this was going on. I couldn't let my dog out before going to bed because of all of this stuff coming all over the place. I wasn't allowed to say that. I wasn't allowed to add anything in the committee meeting. The committee meeting, they just ignored all the material that I provided to you here about the dangers and the health hazards of fireworks, and they did nothing. So that's why I'm here, asking for your approval of this additional ordinance, which certainly doesn't harm anybody, and it makes a difference to health. It particularly makes a difference to my health. A doctor had warned me decades ago, and I literally mean decades ago. When you're 82, you can say that.
if you happen to go by when I am busy spraying because the birds do a good job of spreading poison ivy seed, you'll find me wearing this and this and long sleeves and jeans and a headscarf because a doctor warned me that I should avoid strong chemicals. Now, I think probably the chemicals that are in that spray for poison ivy seed are not anywhere near as strong as the chemicals that are identified in this material here in fireworks. So I'm asking your approval of this ordinance, which hurts no one and certainly gives me back use of my yard and protects perhaps some people that should not be around fireworks, particularly children and older people. As asthma and COPD particularly are problems with the study that was done. I found it interesting that the study was done in India where they could apparently collect statistics a lot easier than they could with all of the 50 states around here doing their own thing and everything scattered all over the place. But it is a U.S. government document. Do you have any questions for me?
I would have a question for Nita. In the proposed amendment, as far as the no person shall ignite or discharge fireworks to discharge or cause residue to fall, et cetera, I would note, I think some of the concern on enforcement, and I'm not speaking for Jeff, was that it's not, even if it's unintentional, in the sense that it's really easy for things to drift. I mean, clearly, I don't think anyone here would like anyone to intentionally shoot fireworks or cause residue to go on neighboring properties.
Okay, this was intentional, what I was doing.
That's exactly where I'm going, is that...
That's my question too, was you said they were shooting the fireworks on your property?
Directly on my property.
They were igniting them on your property?
They were igniting them so that clearly they were exploding over my property.
They were aiming over your property.
They were aiming over my property very deliberately.
I do have a question about that. Did you report that to the police?
Yes, I did later.
But not that night?
Well, I was told that there's nothing in the present ordinances that provide for my overhead airspace. So I'm clarifying this with this ordinance that the answer I got from the police was that, no, you don't have a right to the air over your property.
That's true. Yep,
okay,
that's correct.
So this is to clarify that issue. So I don't have fireworks coming down on my property.
And your statement earlier where you said that we never discussed anything, we actually had a discussion in a city meeting at length about all of this, and we discussed this, we read through the paperwork, we had, I don't know, an hour-long conversation with you here present in the room about this, so I just want to clarify that. We actually discussed it at length in here, and that
when I was here, before the committee meeting. It was sent to the committee meeting.
Correct.
Nothing was discussed in the committee meeting.
It was absolutely discussed. I was there.
No, it wasn't.
I was there too.
Did that committee come back with any recommendation as far as the path
There
forward?
was nothing, the current ordinances we have, and Chief can answer this if he would like, but the current ordinances we have already cover this. And the reason that it cannot be regulated any more than it already is because in order for things to happen, it has to be intentional. Intent has to be proven, and that is impossible without video evidence or pictures.
Okay. I could have taken pictures of these people sitting there with their chairs facing my property.
And it would have helped if you would have notified the police right away instead of, no, you know what I'm saying? What we're saying is there's nothing that needs to be added because we already have rules in place to take care of this.
No, I was told that there was nothing in place that prevented things from going in the air. That's when I talked to the police chief about that.
Chief Simpson came to the city meeting that we had when we discussed this and said he could do something if it was reported because we can use the littering code that we have, but there has to be sufficient evidence in order to prosecute.
I was in that meeting that he did not say that then.
He did, man. He did, 100%.
After I left then?
No, you were here. You were still sitting. As a matter of fact, I thought you had asked him a question about it when he said that. Yes.
I was not allowed to say anything.
In the city meeting, not the committee meeting.
The committee
Chief Simpson
meeting.
was in the city meeting giving that information.
In the council meeting, I was directed to meet with the committee. That was the result of coming to the council meeting, was take it to the committee.
And we discussed it at length in the committee, but that's what I'm telling you. Those were the decisions that we made because of everything we already have in place, the codes that we have for littering, but you have to prove intent, and intent is impossible to prove without video or photographic evidence. But we already have laws in place to take care of this matter without creating more laws. That was the result.
What harm is there in clarifying it by adding this? Because when I on my own checked with the police chief before bringing any of this forward, he said, no, you don't have any rights to the airspace over your property.
And we can't change that. That's unconstitutional. We can't change that.
So this accounts for that by saying you don't just discharge it over my property.
I'm going to speak up here, and I'm going to say the way I read this, you want all fireworks in the city limits banned. Except for snakes, maybe some sparklers and some...
No.
The little cone things, fountains.
Okay.
But that's how I read this wording.
Because an explosion...
Because I have no control when I shoot something off where it's going. I have zero control.
Not only that, if you have control over it, an explosion at elevation is going to displace material past your boundaries, whether it's particulate material or cardboard or fins. Like, this is essentially a ban on at least aerial fireworks, the way I read this.
When you don't have space on your own property to set them off on your own property.
But that would be everybody in Marysville.
Yeah, that would 100%, and maybe not 100%. I won't speak in 100% certainty, but 95% of the people in this community would not be able to shoot aerial fireworks based on how this is written right now. And I disagree with that. One, how do we police the local dealers to be able to bring this, that sell these in the community?
How do we what?
How do we stop the people that currently sell these within the state or within the town of Marysville? How do we stop them from selling them? Because essentially, you would have to put a ban on that, and you can't regulate what they can and can't sell. And I'm surprised there's not people out here right now that own these fireworks stands in the summer. But this is essentially a ban on aerial fireworks. And let's discuss enforcement for a second.
They could have shot these off over their own property.
And maybe they did, but did wind?
No, they clearly did not.
Well, I don't know that. And I'll go back to the enforcement thing. That is impossible to enforce this. Because what I'd probably say 75% of your fireworks are shot off after dark, I'm going to guess. And unless you can definitively say that person lit that fuse that specifically was shot over your property, there is absolutely no way to prove that.
Okay, so when the committee met back in October, was this proposal for this amendment or addition, was it discussed? It
wasn't 100% at length it was discussed. We had the police chief there for any enforcement questions that we had.
Right.
And he clarified it. The only way you can enforce this, you're never going to enforce particulate. the smoke and the burnt off residue of the fireworks, you're never gonna be able to, in order to do that in court, you would have to have the actual pieces of burnt smoke in a bag and bring it to court and prove it.
I did bring it.
No,
I did bring
Vernita, I'm talking about the smoke residue, the particulates that you're talking about in the amendment. That would all be impossible.
Understood. So I think, I mean, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I think the question here is, what is intent or not? It's all about
Yes.
intentionality.
100%.
That's
And
right.
that is the problem with the specific circumstance that brings this forward is, it appears that there may have been some intent. Obviously, I can't, litigate that here. But if we can tighten up, if we need to look at tightening up our ordinance by adding some language like this, but adding the word intent, not intentionally shoot over someone's property, because I think that's, the long and short of it. You don't want cannons or rockets pointing at people's houses, which obviously we don't, nobody wants that. No. So if if it seems like it's too dicey for us to enforce this based on littering, then maybe that's the way to tighten this up, because that would eliminate a lot of the problem. It won't guarantee that nothing falls, but it will reduce it greatly. Is that?
I don't think you change a thing because.
You don't think it needs tightened up?
How do you tighten it up? Because that's interpretation.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I shot it straight up and the wind caught it and it went that way.
Well.
Is that intentional?
There's gonna be gray, because there always is gray in the law. I think our attorney would agree with that to some extent.
I think the intentional addition to it, adding the intention to it, because that's clearly what was going on.
But still, if it goes straight up and floats over.
They weren't straight. They weren't
You said
aimed
they were
straight
just sitting
up.
there aiming them at your house?
Yes, they were aiming at my house.
So,
You should have taken videos and called the police at that time.
I think we've fortunately got some distance between us and the 4th of July to hash this a little bit. I'd like to send this back to committee for review. Was it admin finance? No, it wouldn't have been. It would have been police and fire. Police and fire committee can review this and look at some options as far as if we do or do not need to add some language. Personally, I think it'd be fine for us to add a little language, tightening it up, making it specifically illegal, but I'll let the committee hash that. That seem okay? Everybody agree to that?
I'll always agree to it.
And we agree to a conclusion on what we're gonna do moving forward.
Yes, but we need to get on it soon because, like I said, we have some time to the 4th, but just as soon we have clarity on it sooner rather than later.
And it is illegal to point Roman candles at somebody or at a house.
I would think it would be.
If that's what they were doing.
I think it would be an assault, but.
Right. Yeah, if that's what they were doing, then please take a video.
Yes.
Or call the police right then and there. Don't wait. You have to take matters. If they're doing something illegal, it's better to have the police catch them in the act than to wait a month to report it.
Because it
would help your cause.
The way you say it is like they're exactly pointing at your house, shooting over your house. But most fireworks are set on the ground and shoot straight up, and you can't control it.
No, they were not going straight up. There's no question about it.
And they were probably handheld and pointed wherever they want to point.
Police and fire committee can re-examine it.
And we'll come up with a conclusion.
Come back with some recommendations on paths forward or whatever. Okay? Yep. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Next up, we have the request for upfitting the Dodge Durango. Chief?
Evening. Thanks for putting me on the schedule this evening. Be mindful of your time. This isn't anything new. Nothing's changed from the previous ones. More than anything, I wanted to make myself available to answer any questions you guys might have about our vehicle program or any plans that we have. So contacted KCOM, prices were exactly the same of what I submitted, and everything will be standardized just like it has been before. So this is specifically just for the upfitting.
Move to approve the request.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have the 11th Road Contractor Construction Contract.
No, creating
No.
demolition review.
Oh, sorry, I skipped one.
Yep.
Next up, we have creating demolition review of downtown Marysville, 1 Marysville. Rory?
You thought I was just here for chickens. As we understand it in the One Marysville Committee, I hope we got the email from Wayne, that at any point, somebody could come and tear down one of the buildings on Main Street without any code or permitting process involved. And we do not want to lose any buildings on Main Street as our thing had. We're just kind of looking to go to the next step and make sure it's okay with you guys that we proceed in that, and if you have any questions about that.
Would tearing down a building require a building permit?
Demolition permit.
Demolition.
Or demolition permit? No?
Currently, no. But I do believe a lot of Main Street communities, et cetera, do have some sort of variation on a demolition permit. Some of them much more cursory or restrictive than others.
Basically a way for us to pump the brakes. I mean, it really came down here recently. We'd been talking about since we started the historic district, right, is what would happen if we lost a building. The tornado came through before, took down Boss Motors, and very easily could have been any of the, like where Petronas was, the roof was gone from that too. So if you think about that building being gone, how's that leave the rest of the buildings that are all attached to it? So more recently, the person that owned Morgan Reed's building basically threatened to tear it down. And you're like, well, we don't have any recourse to even pump the brakes. So what we're doing is would like to proceed is find a way to pump the brakes, so to speak, when somebody comes and.
And there are real literal structural reasons to worry about such things.
Absolutely.
There have been other communities where this has happened, and some of it's demolition by neglect, but where they have walls, shared walls between neighboring businesses, they actually can threaten entire runs of buildings, and there's no really way to check it.
Would argue that that's what we lost between the 600 and 700 block there.
Yeah.
Of our Main Street was just from buildings coming down. Yeah, Missing Teeth is close as Frankfurt, right? We call it Missing Teeth. This is one building there, and it's just like tooth missing. So we're trying to avoid that, and we have pretty sound buildings the way it is, but we need to help protect those. And right now, even with the historic district, we really have no recourse on protection, or if that's the right word, preservation maybe, fancier word.
And it is a bit of a needle to thread, because you don't want to be in a position where you're telling people what they absolutely can or cannot do with things that they own and pay taxes on.
Do we have a demolition permit on houses, or are there, on residential at all?
No.
Okay. So.
Is there any legal recourses we need to be worried about with something like that?
Sure.
I think I imagine there's a lot of reasons why you could put it in place, as far as traffic and other health and safety and making sure you're protecting neighboring businesses. It doesn't have to be strictly from a historical or other perspective. I imagine there's some precedent for communities doing this.
Yeah, and I'd kind of like to read through the building code that we have now. I believe it references other building codes, so I want to read that to make sure I have a thorough reading of how any potential demolition permit would read into that. But yeah, Mayor's absolutely right. I review shared walls agreements. I have one in a building that I own, in a downtown building, and and you look at the foundation of the buildings at that time period, and that by itself is reason to review this and have a good understanding, at least, of where we stand on that. I would say
There's some of them we touch base. I think Wayne touched base with Abilene, and there's a whole committee, but all tied to the historic district. I'm not necessarily saying we want to go that far. It seems like a lot of work and resources we don't necessarily have at this point. But yes, just to get to the point of where we can pump the brakes and say, okay, there's more to this than just you wanting to tear down your building, right?
It definitely bears more exploration and kind of research on our end, as far as what options there are.
Reasonable, because you don't want to tell someone they can't tear down their property, but at the same time, you want to protect the people to the left and right, make sure that everything's done in a correct and safe way, so we're not influencing other people's buildings at the same time.
And if it's something where they feel like they've got no other options but demolition, it also gives us a chance to go, hey, well, we can maybe help you with this help, there's this grant program, there's this.
Yeah, I'm sure the other side, if it did come down to where it was neglected enough to be demolished, you'd have to have a plan to rebuild it.
Yeah.
And not have missing teeth or something. I mean, there could be, I'm sure we're not the first ones to have to navigate this, so there's probably a lot of resources.
Did we not kind of run into this a little bit years ago when the bar came down just west of the pony statue?
When those three, when we took those three buildings
down.
Because they were, the bar came down and then the other buildings were impacted by that. I believe.
It pretty much had to be all at once.
Yes, and I think that this kind of speaks to the heart of that, like how can we prevent that?
Exactly.
We
have our own case study.
Yeah, absolutely we do.
Of elimination.
It doesn't need to be a big bureaucracy like some cities, but it can be a check and just kind of a way for us to make sure we don't step into an issue.
Hey, you're ready to tear this down, what can we do to either encourage you not to, or
give you the tools to do it in a way that helps you protect your neighbors.
Right, exactly.
So that makes sense.
So
I move we create a demolition review permit.
you want to start the research on it?
Yep.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. It's moved and seconded that we move forward with developing a draft demolition review permit program. Does anybody have any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
7.
Okay.
Thank you.
Rory.
Thanks, Rory.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Rory.
Roy.
Okay, now we have the 11th Road contractor construction contract.
So this is to direct the mayor to sign the construction contract with R.L. Tiemann Construction and the city of Marysville for the 11th Road South project. It's the last remaining portion of 11th Road.
Move to approve to sign the contract.
Second.
Okay, it's moved and seconded. Is there any further comments or questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
7-0.
Thank you. Next up, we have the, under animal code, we have the draft chickens ordinance.
Chickens.
This has been clearly a subject of great debate. It will continue to be, no doubt. Committee's met on it a few times. There's been some tweaks, modifications. I'm imagining a lot of council members have done their own research as well. But this is the draft ordinance brought for your discussion, commentary tonight. So what questions or comments or thoughts do you all have as far as, is it restrictive enough? Is it something we should be doing at all? Should it be opened up to other fowl? This has also been questioned.
Can these be amended later on?
Yes. Well, you know, I want to speak a little bit to what Mr. Shelburne had to say, just with doing research as far as what other communities allow this. I looked around, called a couple places as well. Salina up to 15 permit required. Topeka, no limit with a permit. Overland Park, it's subjective to the lot size, meaning the larger your lot, the more allotment of chickens you can have. Olathe, 4 hens with a permit. Kansas City, 6 hens with a permit. Roland Park, the community in Johnson County that our lawyer previously referenced, 6 hens. And I kind of liked how they structured it. It was an $80 initial application fee. So you had to pay for that application fee to even be initiated, and then $20 annually after that if you passed the inspection and everything was proved that you are capable of taking care of these. Manhattan, no restrictions. Wichita, 4 with no permit. Lawrence up to 20, or 1 hen per 500 square feet. No roosters. These are obviously all no roosters included in well. Sorry, and I misspoke on Wichita. 4 with no permit, and a permit for more up to 12, and that was $25 per year. So, I mean, obviously this is, again, a topic of debate, but it seems like these other communities, much larger, exponentially larger than we are, have navigated these waters. I don't see that that's something that should give us trouble. I feel like we're just as capable of the community as the rest of these places are.
I did reach out to some people I know in city government, a couple places like Abilene, et cetera, that their ordinance is very similar to this as far as 6 hens and no roosters and permitting process. And I think a lot of places have been surprised how few people actually end up taking advantage of it, where they kind of expected it to be, you know, a mountain of work for their city staff, a lot of people getting permits. But then when the rubber hit the road, people, you know, did the math and they decided that they couldn't make it pencil or whatever. And so there's, you know, a city of Abilene, I think, has something like a dozen.
Yep.
And that's a 3 times bigger town.
I mean, I think to your point there, that with people not utilizing it or taking advantage, however you want to phrase that, I think that there's, you know, a common misconception that animal husbandry is an easy thing to do. I grew up on a farm, a 1,500 head feedlot. And one of my first jobs was going out and taking care of the chickens. And it was a chore, and it was something that needed done, but it taught me a lot of responsibility. And, you know, I think that maybe that's something that people need to realize in the community. This is not an easy task to do. You are taking responsibility of animals. They're more self-sufficient than a lot of others, but at the same time, there's things that need to be taken into consideration before you take on this task of being responsible for, you know, other animals' lives. So, but yeah, again, I think it's something that, you know, I really liked the application fee, the initial application fee, to make sure that you were in compliance, that you were, you know, had everything that would help fund this mechanism to be able to even allow this, you know, because with costs. And, you know, I want to be clear that even though this is an issue that's obviously a hot button issue right now, taking care of roads, maintaining our community is still very much my #1 priority. I don't think that should be taken out of context. That is mine, and I believe everyone else's on this council's #1 priority is infrastructure improvement. So I don't want that to be lost in all of this discussion. That is my #1 thing, that, you know, improving where your tax dollars go.
So at the Admin and Finance Council meeting, committee meeting we had the other day, we made some changes to this, but it's not reflected in this ordinance that's in there, is it?
Well, I think that would go somewhere else.
That was more of the permitting fees.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that will
go
be
into
on a
this.
fee resolution.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I would lead up to what Kyle said. You know, there's been some talk of, why aren't you guys worried about more bigger things? We are worried about bigger things in our community. But at the same time, there's those low-hanging fruit that if we can just make a decision and move on and turn this into, it's done, let's move on and worry about the bigger things. And I think at this point, we beat this to death. And at this point, I'll make a motion to move forward with changing the animal code to include the chicken draft ordinance.
Can we amend that to say ducks and quail?
Fowl.
In general?
Sure, fowl.
That's what I was gonna say, but could be amended.
But yes, I'll accept that amendment, but I think at this point, we just need to put it up for a vote. If the vote is passed down, it's passed down. If it's voted in favor, we move forward.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. I guess my comment during discussion here, my biggest concern is the enforcement mechanism. It's really easy to make rules, and then it's hard to enforce them, and there's no point of rules that we can't enforce.
Well, I've had a lady that's reached out to me numerous times that is in favor of the chickens, that took it upon herself to call all of these towns and question how they enforce their chickens. None of these places have any chicken violations. They don't have anybody that has to enforce it, because yeah, when they apply and they build their coop and they're running all that, somebody goes and looks at it, but she's like, they don't get complaints on chickens.
I was gonna say the same thing.
You know what I mean? Like, she said that she's called, I can't even remember all the places she listed off on the phone that she called, that they're getting no chicken complaints.
Well, my question is, if we include ducks and quail, are we still gonna limit the number they can have?
Yes.
And how are we gonna limit that? Are we gonna limit to 6 hens like we do with chickens?
Same number would probably.
So-
I say the same number, no matter if you have 2 chickens, 2 quail, and 2 duck, it's all
Okay,
the
so
same.
6 total, no, whether they're,
Interspecies specific.
pardon me?
Interspecies specific, so it's no more than 6, whether, like Lori said, two ducks, 2 quail.
However you
2
work that,
chickens,
5 chicken,
no
1
more than
quail,
6,
1
even
duck.
if it's
And a partridge and a partridge.
Yeah. Even if it's interspecies specific.
Well, the reason I bring up the enforcement is because, as some of the people who oppose this have pointed out, we have difficulty keeping up with some of our other code enforcement issues. So adding more to when we don't have a full-time code enforcer is, not without some concern. I'm not saying that should shoot anything down. I'm just saying it needs to be something we keep in mind as we move forward. I think we do have plenty of other things to enforce that are probably bigger concerns, and we probably need to target getting
Well, I
that
get that's a
done.
little bit a part of this, but I think the code enforcer is a whole different conversation.
Yeah, it's a different.
It definitely is, because we got dogs, cats, squirrels.
No, I know, I'm just
That's
saying.
a whole nother thing that we probably need to discuss
I
at
understand
some
being
point.
permissive on some things, I'm just saying we've gotta be really observant and, be prepared for
Just to point
unforeseen
out the
consequences.
obvious, we did just vote to complete 11th Road, so we're actually working on the roads and stuff. It's not something that's put on the back burner. This is just another thing, the economy's tough, and it's not just for eggs. I don't want anybody thinking this is just so people can afford eggs, because, I did a little bit of research and, I don't want to murder his name, but Mr. Shelbourne pointed out he did all the money, and the stuff I did, it was either a wash or a little bit more expensive to raise chickens. So the price of eggs, for me, it was a non-issue. I grew up in the city, but I was fortunate enough to have grandparents that had a farm, so I was able to learn about farming and animal care and things like that. And these stupid things are taking control of our children's lives. So anything we can do to get that out of their hands and back into reality about how things and how real life works, to me, is a win either way you slice it. And I did the same thing. I called around to a bunch of communities with chickens, and I found the same thing. They get 0 complaints. It is a non-issue anywhere that I called. I'm not saying anywhere in the nation, but from the research I've done. So I don't think enforcement's going to be an issue. When people realize how tough it is and how much work it is, I don't think we're going to have 3,500 people with chickens in the backyard, honestly.
Some good points were brought up, and I used to raise chickens. We used to raise chickens about, 50, 60 or so, along with hogs, and I can tell you, you never could smell the chickens. None. You could smell the hogs.
Every day they drive by on the highway.
I guarantee that.
And we would always use the manure for put in the gardens, because we raised our own gardens. And a 50-pound bag of cracked corn, $6, compared to, I think Miller brought up, compared to dog food. You're going to use twice as much dog food as you do that bag of cracked corn. Okay, so it's not very expensive to raise 6 chickens, and being outside, it's highly unlikely to probably get bird flu anyway, because most bird flu situations, you talk to a vet, it's more confined when you got 60, 70, 80, 100 birds combined together.
3,000, 5,000 isolation.
Yes. So that's my point. There's more pros than there is cons.
As far as the poo, if we
Oh,
can figure out.
couple more things. And chickens, there are two things for chickens. They're made to breed and they're made to lay eggs. Well, you ain't got no roosters, that limits one thing. So now you're just gonna have eggs. And they're not raised to win, any beauty contest or anything like that. They're just simply an animal to raise your food. That's it.
Some might be if they're for 4-H though.
Yeah.
Some might actually be.
Anything else, Steve?
That's it.
As far as the poo, if we can figure out a way to regulate poo, I would like to figure that out because I live by the lake. I got lots of swans and ducks and crows and everything that visit that pond. So if I didn't have a garage, my whole yard is covered by that stuff everywhere. So if that could be an issue, we could even attempt. I think this has been a long time coming, and as many things as we've done, and had to do without choice, one small thing to help the community feel like, they matter and we're listening to them, I don't think there's any harm in that at all.
Chris, did you have a question?
I do have a question, please, before you vote. I just want to make sure in the proposal, do ducks and quail get added every place there is chickens?
Can you elaborate?
I believe
that
that's
would
where
be-
the motion was made.
Yeah, that's how the motion would need to be made.
Yeah, I think, so if I may, can I amend my motion?
Absolutely.
Or rescind my motion first?
Sure.
Are we okay with that?
Yes.
So I would like to amend my motion to state that 6 fowl would be included in the, what do we call it? The amendment to the Animal Code Chicken Draft Ordinance. So 6 fowl.
Peacocks and guineas,
Yeah.
etc. I mean,
We can't split hairs here.
Well, I think we kind of need to
Maybe
because
if we-
guineas
Okay.
are
Let's
a problem.
exclude peacocks and guineas, please.
Yeah, let's stick with,
Yeah.
chickens,
Ducks and quail.
ducks and quail.
Let's just do that.
Thank you.
And I also want to add, if your name was already on the nuisance list, you're not allowed to have chickens.
I would say that should be part of our permitting process, probably not in the ordinance.
And also part of the permitting process, and this is the discussion I had with City Hall, if this does move forward, is that we need an educational pamphlet we hand people when they get this, because people may just get excited and they need to know, these are the things you have to do, this is warnings, these are, I don't want anybody to claim they went into it blind and we didn't try to educate them.
And I think to continue the discussion after my motion, which hasn't been seconded yet.
It's been seconded, now we're in discussion, go ahead.
To continue that discussion, I think ourselves as councilmen and councilwomen, if we have somebody in our neighborhood that just throws that chicken fence out with some T-posts in the front yard, we need to help the city and say, hey, you need to go talk to them because that ain't cool.
Because we do have rules and regulations as to where the coop.
Yes.
And how
And
far
they
it
have
has
to have a coop, it can't
Yeah.
just be just a fence.
They can't be free-range chickens, they have to be in a run.
Have to be set back from property lines.
Yeah.
That's where Kyle brought up his point about having an $80 approval.
Yeah.
Well, and we had talked at the Admin and Finance Committee about $10 per chicken for the permit, so that'd be $60.
The same as cats and dogs.
Yes.
Yeah, that's not unreasonable.
And it makes it simple and easy
Yeah,
for
however
staff
we
to
wanna
keep track.
City Hall.
However you want to structure it, but there's got to be some upfront cost that makes it, I don't want to say cost prohibitive, but at the same time, you have to.
Cost prohibitive.
Cost prohibitive.
So-
Well, yeah.
And this ordinance does not lay out the entire permitting process.
Right.
This is purely opening the door for the permitting process to be crafted,
Considered, yes.
to be clear.
Okay.
and is that by resolution?
The fee would be a resolution,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay?
and so would any fines
Right.
if you're not following the ordinance. Yeah. If I may, though, I would ask that we not vote on it tonight.
Right.
because, well, we need to figure out the fee resolution. And there's also some other questions that residents have brought to us that we feel like should be discussed. For example, for those that are already on 2 acres or more, do they have to also apply to a permit? Or are they allowed any more per acre? Those are just some of the things that were brought to us.
So I guess my question is there a way that we can have a vote that says we support this and we need to refine it?
I would say if you're going to try to pass an ordinance tonight, I would prefer that it's the final ordinance. Yeah.
Well, we need to get to the end of this. It's been on the docket for long enough.
So if you, those points are valid. If you don't want to move forward to the vote tonight, we can say bring back the final ordinance at the next council meeting for an up-down vote. But that's up to you. There's a motion and a second.
There was,
on the table.
There was also a discussion at the Admin Finance Committee that this does not start until the next year. If that's still part of the discussion, we need to decide that in your motion.
Right.
Well, I feel like that was discussed because it would make it easier on City Hall, because then they would all be due come January 1 of next year, the same time the cat and dog tags are due, and they could just take care of it all at one time. Instead of people coming in July, August, October, it would be on the same, schedule as the cat and dog tags. Yeah. So it would all be done at the same time.
So they would so what about the people who don't get them that year, but the next year and they do it in October? Would they have to wait until January?
No, but I feel like that'd be the same, like if you move to town with a dog, you're gonna come get a dog tag. So if you decide to once we get it all set up and figured out, if you went and got chickens in July, you would come to City Hall in July.
I think that if we need to refine the ordinance or whatever, it needs to be enforced and in place July 1. And I think we should have a vote of confidence that we're going to move forward with this and not drag it on.
No, and I hear what you're saying. I'm sympathetic to it, but I also do understand what Josh is saying about us having a finalized ordinance in front of us that we are just stamping go. I think we can we can move forward with the vote as it's on the table, but I do believe we should probably hold till the next council meeting so that we have a full draft ordinance in place for approval.
And one of the reasons why I agree with that is because if we vote tonight and say, yes, you can have chickens, are people gonna run right out and get chickens and get everything set up when we don't even have the final ordinance?
There's gonna be a little bit of an educational effort that needs to go along with this, so that people realize it's not like 8 a.m. the morning following council. It's wide open for chickens if it, goes forward.
I agree with Jeff, though, that just like a shortened on-ramp period for it. Not immediately, but
it's a long time. January's a long time.
Yeah, it's like a whole year.
Almost, yeah. I understand that as well.
There are also chickens right now, or chicks out for sale right now, so I do understand trying to get it done as quick as possible. If you feel comfortable with the ordinance as it is, you could say to take effect April 1, and that would give us until next council meeting to get a fee resolution put together as to whatever the Admin Finance Committee recommends. And then it's still spring, so people can still get chicks.
And I'm okay with April 1, but if we approve this ordinance, it's not even right. It's, if you want to add quail and ducks to it.
But that was in the amendment, when he made the motion.
But she's speaking on, though, like expanding the scope of a larger acreage, I believe.
Well, all of it.
Yeah. Well, all that's gonna have to be in the ordinance.
Right, and so we're not even really voting on the right ordinance because it doesn't have all the things that we want in it.
So people who have 2 acres or more can already have chickens, correct?
Yes.
Do we even need to mess with that then? Do we even need to
That's
look at
could
that?
be part of the discussion.
Yeah.
Right now, they can have 6 hens without having a permit.
I've had people reach out to me requesting for that to be considered.
Considered what?
As far as setting a limit that if they're already grandfathered in to the 2-acre program or ordinance, that it would possibly expanding the scope from 6 to 12, or, you know, or doing like Lawrence, for example, up to 20, but you can, the carrying capacity be 1 hen per 500 square feet, or whatever that, however you deem that. Or Wichita, yeah, some of these are lot size subjective.
I mean, those are valid points, and I'm okay with maybe holding off and getting it right, but I think no matter what, we need to do this by next council meeting.
I think we have a consensus, but I would like to table my motion until the next meeting.
Okay.
With a refined, draft
So
of the resolution.
We've got the ordinance and the resolution with no handwritten notes and line items in it.
Right.
Clean and clear.
With a fee schedule.
Do I need to?
Yes, the resolution.
We'll go, I mean, if you want, we can go ahead and schedule an admin finance committee, so that way you know that that is going to that, so that way that can be ready by next meeting.
Just as well that all be at the same meeting.
Do I need to rescind my motion?
Yeah, I think that'd be good.
I would like to rescind my motion.
Okay.
On the floor.
And just to confirm, the two things to be polished up is to add quail, ducks, and chickens, and then creating a resolution.
For the fee schedule.
Fee schedule.
And when it will go into effect.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I just say that we have 2 roosters near where we live within the city limits right now? People know about it, they're in their front yard occasionally.
Do we have a code enforcement
It's not
officer?
enforced right now, and there's roosters.
So, ma'am, would you like to come forward?
Cock-a-doodle-doo.
Would you like to come forward and speak? I'll allow you to come forward and speak.
I just wanted to say that.
Well, that's part of our responsibility to make sure we enforce this correctly.
Yeah.
So.
But if it, yeah, right, so what's the right process for reporting that?
I mean, if you want to report a code violation, you need to call City Hall.
So, ma'am, if you know the exact address and stuff, if you can get that to City Hall, then that can be handled. Otherwise, we don't know where to go, or, you know what I mean? We'd be happy to.
You know, you make codes and then they're
go
not
ahead
enforced.
and move
We
forward.
can all hear them. They cock-a-doodle-doo.
So, yeah, well, if anybody in this goes for any animal or related concerns, if you see something and you believe it to be against code, please do contact City Hall. We can't enforce things we don't know about, and we should darn well be enforcing things, but bring it to our attention, and I can guarantee you we'll try, or at least I'll try. How about that? Okay, moving forward on the
Can I say
chart.
one thing before everybody leaves?
Sure.
It's nice to see this room full. I wish it was this way every council meeting. So all those who made it, even though it's a very tense, situation, it's really nice to see this room full. And whether for it or against it, this is your guys' house, and this is how it works. So I appreciate everybody who took the time out to come tonight and show that.
I would argue, Lori, that chickens are not as controversial as potential budget items that actually in the thick of things.
Sorry,
So,
Mr. Mayor, but thank you.
I agree. I appreciate everyone coming out.
Okay. Moving on to discussion for Charter Ordinance 25, speaking of long-ranging issues that we've been trying to clean up. This is an attempt to clean up the I want to say contradictory information and lack of clarity regarding the appointment of some city officers. We've had some various discussions on this and refined this to its current state. Has everyone had a chance to review it?
I would say there was one thing that was added since you reviewed it last council meeting. We did make sure to add the fire chief in there just to clarify that is appointed.
Move to approve charter ordinance number 25.
Second.
Okay, so moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
In an ordinance that historically is this important to what this council has done, I don't understand why the city administrator is not addressed.
It's not what? Okay.
It's in a separate ordinance. or in a separate part of the code. It's not entertained in this section. So I believe this is section, let's see here, where is it?
But, okay, let me ask it this
Yeah.
way. If the discussion is the clarity about who has the power, who is responsible, especially with termination, why is the administrator separate?
Okay, and just to confirm, I was talking about hiring of the city administrator, which is in a different section, but that's not your question.
Long story short, this was all in Charter Ordinance number 9. This is where it was created. The mistake we made was when we took an ordinary city ordinance to repeal a charter ordinance, and you can't do that. You have to fix that. When it happened, it was contradicting with the other city ordinance. So we have to go back to what was original.
I just think about it. I mean, maybe I'm making too much of it, but a lot of grief has come to this council on this issue because of actions that were taken. So the person who has one of the biggest salaries that you pay is not covered unless it's a separate section.
What is that? Yeah, the city administrator is under the auspices of the council.
Right. It's already covered. I guess I'm confused
Yeah,
with what the question is.
the city, nothing is changing with the city administrator position compared to the old ordinance.
I went back through and read everything, and I read the code, and there is one reference where the administrator was referenced, and then it's not there. So.
That would have been one of the older
Yeah,
ordinances.
I'm not aware of that reference.
Yeah, I understood that to be under a separate section of the code and not of concern,
Are
whereas
you
this
talking about the
we had
hiring and
specific
firing of the
concerns.
city administrator? Oh, yeah, that's in a completely different
That's
section
different.
of
That's
code.
different. Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
I was gonna say, I didn't think we had any concerns with that part, or it would have been roped in, but.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chris.
Is there, other discussion about the Charter Ordinance 25? And this, if it does get voted, in, will take 61 days to go into effect of note.
That's gotta be in the paper.
It's gonna be published.
After the publication.
After 2 publications.
Yes.
Correct. Okay, is there any further discussion?
Are we roll call?
Yeah, roll call.
Snellings,
Yes.
Barris,
Yes.
Barons,
Yes.
Keating,
Yes.
Eichmann,
Yes.
Schrader,
Yes.
Gueracke,
Yes.
7-0.
Okay, thank you. We will get that published, and then after those 60 days, we will get that submitted to the state so that it's properly recorded there.
In other parts of this, if there are residents that feel they want to petition the process in those 61 days, there is a way to do that if they feel like this charter ordinance was passed without thought of something else, or if they felt like it was, it shouldn't have been passed. They can petition it with a certain amount of people signing it, and they can come into City Hall to find out the exact number, but it is 1/10 of the voter base. So please come into City Hall if you have questions about the charter ordinance or about the process that we're in now.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving forward, we have no notices nor hearings. We have the consent agenda.
Move to approve consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, it's moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
7-0.
And next we have the presentation of appropriations ordinance 3843.
Move to approve appropriations ordinance 3843.
And the amount?
$259,766.69.
Second.
Thank you.
Okay, so moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Roll call?
Snellings,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Behrens,
Yes.
Keating,
Yes.
Eichmann,
Yes.
Schrader,
Yes.
Gurecki.
Yes.
Thank you. Now we have the city administrator report. Josh?
So we are continuing work on the police department building since there was a leak there. We're still working with our insurance to figure out the different estimates for the damage that was created there. This Wednesday, Todd and I will be going down to Topeka to accept the CDBG award for the Kester commercial buildings. This is a major part of the funding in order to get the apartments finished. In that block, the CDBG funding is all for the lower portion of the buildings, but all improvements will be good there. And then in other news, we were also awarded MIH funding, which was in the paper this Thursday, if you saw that. Also in the Kester block, we did receive one applicant for the Charles J.D. Kester house. So we need to figure out rent before we take the applicant to the Kester Block Advisory Board. Unfortunately, we have not been able to get solid numbers back for the work on it. So if there's a general number you feel like we should be looking for with the rent, unfortunately, we aren't able to have the total number that we'd be looking.
Do we have any idea what restaurant square footage generally rents for in the vicinity?
I have not looked at that.
Seems like there's some data that exists somewhere, we just don't have it.
Yeah, I know this applicant specifically is not looking for a restaurant throughout the whole building, but is looking at a variety of things.
Are they amenable to any length of lease term?
Oh, I haven't started that conversation with them. Once we got that number, I was gonna ask them if that number, if they were still interested in it based on that rent.
My thought being if we're gonna invest some money in the place, we wanna make sure have a tenant in there long enough to recoup that money.
I'm sure they would like solid, footing, so they'd like a longer lease term.
I would hope, yeah.
Do we know how much time it's gonna take to get those solid numbers, Josh?
They were supposed to get it to us by the end of this week, so we'll see if that still happens.
If the applicant, if the rental terms are, pricing is approved by the applicant, how quickly would they be looking to move forward? Do you have any indication of that? If this is something where they're champing at the bit and we need a push?
They are a little bit, yep.
Okay.
Yep, they've already called me and asked where they're at in the process. So I let them know that we were coming to here Monday. I didn't think it would be good to wait till the next council meeting.
Do we know what it rented for when it was a restaurant previously?
$725.
$725.
I say put it on the admin and finance agenda for their meeting. Since we're having one anyway in the next couple weeks.
But I don't think they wanna wait that long.
Would the council be okay if just taking whatever the recommendation is of the admin finance committee and going forward?
Probably soon, because we have to have this ordinance back by the next meeting, so.
I would suggest they meet
I would
this
guess,
week.
Yeah,
still.
in the next few days.
I don't know about trusting Lori, but I trust the rest of the committee.
Thanks, Chris.
Well played.
Appreciate you.
What you know about restaurants anyway?
Nothing.
Yes, I think it would be fine to let them move forward with that so we can keep the process going forward. I'm glad we have an applicant, so.
Yep, I know there's gonna be a couple issues with the building as it is, the wheelchair lift, and then of course the fire escape. Trying to figure out those.
Hopefully by the time we meet, we have all those numbers.
Right.
Yeah.
And probably some remediation involved in the basement as far as.
Yes.
It'll need a heavy cleaning.
Yep, so. Otherwise, we also need to schedule a budget workshop if possible, hopefully before the end of March. So that way this will be just council and Sammy and I. So that way we can get council priorities within the confines of what we've already talked about. So,
When would you like to do that?
before the end of March.
March
So,
28th.
Last week.
Friday?
That's a Sunday.
I don't have
I'm looking at
anything
the
to do.
wrong
Got a dance.
You're going to Wichita that weekend?
No, I'm not.
I'm okay with
Okay.
whatever works for me. I'll make it work.
You say March 28th?
March 20th.
24th through the 28th is that week.
Jeff wants it on the 28th.
Don't say why.
I could do the 28th as long as it's not early. It need to be after 6.
That works. That's actually better for me too.
Yeah.
Friday night?
Yeah, I could do 28th.
You can go out afterwards.
28th at what time?
6:30?
6:30 would be good.
Here?
As long as the room is available, yeah.
Otherwise, it'll be at this fire hall.
Yeah, as long as that room is also available.
Is 6 o'clock or 6:30?
6:30. Let's do 6:30.
6:30.
Food?
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
What'd you
Please.
say? Food?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Because that's a work day, and by the time I get home.
And that is all I have.
Okay. Thank you, Josh. Next, we'll move into standing committee reports. Police and Fire Committee did meet, but it's regarding police chief interviews. That process continues. Nothing to report there. Stay tuned. Admin and Finance Committee met regarding the chicken ordinance proposal. Were there other items discussed at that
I
meeting?
feel like we had a lot of items we
I
discussed.
feel like there were other items, but that one sort of.
We also talked about supplemental health insurance
Yeah.
for employees. It was decided by the committee that we already have supplemental health insurance that covers the same things. So at this time, we are not looking. However, we'll always entertain the businesses as they come to us, so that way we can look it over, see if it beats our current one.
Yeah.
So,
What else? I feel like we had a lot on our agenda.
Common consumption.
Oh, yeah, common consumption.
Oh, yes. Go ahead, Lori.
It's still a work in progress, but it would be, I don't even know if I still have it. The map.
common consumption area would run from,
Broadway, no.
on Broadway from 4th, about where, El Ranchero is. East to 6th Street, where it would then go down, so from Broadway down to Elm Street, from 6th all the way to 10th. This is not including any of the highways, but it does include the sidewalk on the outer edges. So
Just on Broadway.
would not cross the highways at all.
No.
It's Broadway and Elm Street except from 4th to 6th.
So it'd be, you could walk into Sarge's on a Thursday and go sit in a little green space and have a drink.
Yeah.
So,
Just
I
to
mean,
run
there's a
through it
lot
real
of
quick.
details to work out,
Just to
though.
run through it real quick, a common consumption area is where somebody who's visiting that specific designated area can go inside of a place that sells alcoholic beverages, receives a cup with the place that's selling its name on it, then they can carry that cup throughout the area, on the street, on the sidewalk. If the streets are closed, then on the street, obviously not while traffic's going through. But there's also specific time frames that it can be in place. So we discussed Thursday at 11 a.m. until Sunday night at 11, I think it was 11:30 p.m. So that way it was pretty extensive, but it also is just those 4 days. So you're not seeing somebody on a Monday at noon carrying around whatever,
So,
I think Mondays is probably when people
Yeah,
need it
I was like,
more, but I'm
it might have
just
been a tough
saying.
Monday, I mean.
but they must be carrying a cup with the place where they got the drink from's name on it.
Right.
So that way, police, while, looking at the situation, knows exactly where it came from. If somebody's not in compliance, it either goes back to the entity that holds the common consumption area, has created it, or it goes back to the place where the drink has come from, depending on the situation. And then, of course, laws still applying to minors and all that other stuff.
But that helps with accountability and, you
Yep.
know, structuring it in a way where if it gets abused, it can be taken care of.
Yep, and there's a list of other Kansas cities that currently have them in place.
Including the Capitol. I remember walking through it when we went to the Capitol building.
Yep, so, and you knew exactly where it was because it was designated on the sidewalk or on street signs.
And like if you go to downtown Manhattan, they have places that are out on the street where you can sit out there. But our streets, I don't think, are wide enough for that.
I mean, I'd love to see somebody come to us, I've said it a lot of times, and say, hey, I want to try a little bit of sidewalk seating, and be like, all right, let's edge into that and see how it works, because I think it would be good for downtown. It'd be good for a streetscape, I mean, especially as we get into the warmer months, you know, but if anybody wants to do that, I think we should give them a shout. I do think Manhattan's not necessarily played it the way that we would. I wouldn't want to give up.
Yeah, that's a lot of parking spots.
And then the way they're built, that they take a bunch of half spaces, which is just bad planning.
Yeah. I feel like that was just kind of a
COVID thing, wasn't
COVID
it?
thing that extended past COVID because it kind of resonated. It was popular to be able to sit outdoors. So yeah, I mean, I like it.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
We had common consumption College Station 25 years ago. I remember going down there to a football game. No, really. I mean, they're little, what they call their Aggieville.
Yeah.
I mean, you had your glass and you took it to the next place and you dropped it off, and so it's nothing new. It's not out of the ordinary.
No.
We're just behind the 8 ball on a few things. We're getting there.
Okay. Is there anything else discussed at that Admin Finance Committee meeting?
No, but could we set our next meeting for the 17th?
I will be off.
The 18th?
No.
No, the 18th, we have an interview, so, if we wanted to set it then, it would be later than normal, so like
I could
7
do
o'clock
tomorrow
or
night or Wednesday night,
Yeah.
Friday night.
You said as fast as possible, Jeff.
I got meetings every night this week,
Yeah.
so.
Are you not available on the 17th, or are you available on the 17th?
17th I can, the 18th I cannot.
17th I can't until like 6:30. I'm giving blood earlier.
I could do the 20th or the 21st.
If you guys wanted to do it late on the 17th, then that's an option.
I could do the 20th. Thursday.
Will you be here, Josh?
Yeah, I believe so. It'll be a little bit late for the council meeting.
Oh.
That's what I'm worried about. That's why I was trying to push for this week.
Yeah.
You can't do the 17th, Jeff?
Jeff can.
Oh.
I will be off. But
What about, I like Friday nights.
This week?
This Friday, the 14th? I can do Friday, the 14th.
I can after 6 p.m.
There you go.
There we go.
There we go.
Okay.
Bingo.
I'm putting it for 6
Friday the
p.m.
14th.
Welcome to city politics.
It's 6 p.m., right? Is that what you said?
Yep. I have an appointment at 5. I can be here at 6.
Be here at 6 because I get off at 5:30 usually, hope. So.
I think putting a committee meeting together is gonna be so difficult.
Do we need to make a police and fire committee meeting while we're doing that for the fireworks ordinance too?
That's up to you guys. Yeah, there are other items that police and fire would need to discuss.
Well, we're
As
doing
far as the table's been resolved.
Let's wait till after the interviews. It's
yeah.
not something that has to
No.
be done.
You're right,
I like
there's some
that.
time.
Yeah, we need it definitely. Yeah,
Okay.
we'll wait till after. But after the interview, we should.
Then we should, yeah.
We don't wanna
Yeah.
delay that either.
Yeah, it's just we have enough with the interviews that,
Yeah.
yeah.
And at some point, we're gonna need, water sewer interviews too for a couple of these items that are on the table to be resolved.
Committee meeting, you mean?
Or, yeah, committee meeting. Just,
I'm not on that one, so
I'm not on that one either.
lucky you.
Kevin's not here, so we can't make that decision.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, if Kevin's on, and me and Jeff.
So did you set the
Yes.
We will try for March 28th at 6:30 PM. Depending on what the schedule looks like, we'll try for it here, but it might end up being at the fire station. If the fire station's not available, then we'll ask MCAC about Lee Dam. If Lee Dam's not available, then we'll try to figure it out.
We can come to my house.
If it gets that far, we
We can go to the lake. We can use my driveway. I'm okay with that.
Hopefully the weather's good.
Yeah,
It will.
there you go.
As long as there's no wind.
Yeah, I got plenty of walls to block that.
Okay, moving on. I have no appointments or wage terminations. Our city attorney is gracing us with his presence. What do you have for us tonight?
My presence. No, of course, we've been working on the ordinances that you had in front of you. What else have we been working on, Josh?
Did you
Number of
have any
things.
info about that fireworks stuff? Did you?
Specifically,
Like any cases or anything you've ever heard of? Anything?
yeah, I know there are some towns around, within northeast Kansas that have historically not had fireworks in general. Again, I think just from listening to the discussion tonight, if it does go to committee again, I'd kind of demarcate between property questions, which are kind of speak what our ordinance does. It talks about time, place, manner, kind of property aspects, and then criminal aspects as well, which, things that get to harassment, things that get to assault was mentioned as well. So of course we really can't over-legislate that. Those are crimes on the books. I guess I would encourage the city to think of this really as a matter of time, place, manner, and property. That's just some things to think about for committee and just in general of the ethos of the council as well. Let's see, Josh, what else have we been working on?
Kester.
Yeah, thank you.
Museum.
Yeah, working on the Kester gift agreement. I think we have all the documents just about ready to go for that.
Yep, I will be sending that off to the museum foundation president, so that way we can see if they're in agreement about the declaration of gift and the other documents attached to it that would allow for certain easements and other stuff. And then as long as they're okay with it, we hope to bring that to the next council meeting, so that way we can go ahead and have that ready for April 1.
Wait, long time coming.
And I'd like to take a moment to publicly commend Josh. We were just about ready to wrap up all the paperwork, and Josh said, maybe we should check to make sure there's no easement issues there. And sure enough, there was a sewer main that goes right underneath the house. And in Kansas law, you can't give an easement to yourself. And since that was city-owned property, there is no easement there. So part of the conditions of the agreement, we're going to get an easement on that. But, of course, one job of being an administrator is for issues not to arise. And so this was an issue that did not arise, and so hopefully I've sufficiently embarrassed you, Josh. And I just want to put that out there on the record.
Good job. Good catch. Is there still work in progress on the Dawson Drive issue in regards to the easement out there? the property. I know the property in question is now being marketed for sale, so I don't know if that puts a wrinkle on things.
I think from the conversation I've been having with the council members, I think it's still our position that, you know, there's subdivision regulations that need to be followed, and yeah, and that's going to be beholden to any future property owner.
I'll note that it's being not marketed as a subdivision, but as ag land. So that's also kind of put up question marks for me.
Sure, and I would point, you know, everything should be of record at the Register of Deeds office, and so that information is public out there for any potential buyer, and I'd assume we still very much welcome that subdivision to go through. So, and I'm sure, of course, if a developer has questions about all of that, they can contact City Hall.
Okay, good.
I would also note that, the city has utilities on that property, and so we should be concerned about our access to said utilities. So.
Okay, anything else in progress? Everything's smooth sailing?
Smooth sailing.
All right.
Maybe we're just in the eye of the storm.
Thanks for that positive note. Okay, does anyone have a need for an executive session?
Yes. Personnel.
Okay.
I move the city council recess into executive session to discuss personnel matters of non-elected personnel, discussion on specific personnel matters, not general personnel policies, exception KSA 75-4319B1. This session will include mayor, city council members, city administrator, and city attorney, and how long?
8:55.
8:50, the open meeting will resume in the city council chambers at 8:55.
Second.
Okay, it's moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We now return to regular session from executive session where no binding decisions were made. Does anyone have a need for any other executive sessions? No? All right. We'll move on to council comments. Lori?
I got nothing.
Sheree?
I'm pretty quiet too.
Colleen? Jeff?
I signed up for Facebook. I'm gonna tell you the one reason. I'm not following, actually, I'll take that back. I have no friends on Facebook, but I'm following the school, the city, I think the Advocate, and for the obvious reason that when we did have the sewer problem down at the bridge, I never knew anything about it. And I'm on the Sewer and Water Committee. I found out 3 days after the fact because my wife goes, "Oh, did you know that they have a sewer problem?" So that's why I bit the bullet and signed up for Facebook. But do not ask me to be a friend, because I'm not going to be a friend of yours.
Nobody wants you as a
Add friend on mine all the time, and I just bypass
All right.
it.
Anything else, Jeff?
I'm good.
Keith?
Is it too late to change a vote? I mean, I voted, what's the process on that? I mean, if I wanted, there's none.
No,
Okay.
you're done. You're in the books.
Okay, I just want to make, I voted no on the KCOM for the, and I meant yes. But just, I want to make that clear.
Well, you're in the
I
record.
was kind of
for 1,000.
wondered about that.
Well, I appreciate the explanation, I guess. I was curious.
Yeah.
So, okay. Chris?
I know you guys hate me because I always have a lot to say, but it was really nice to see a full room. I mean, I honestly wish we had that every single meeting. No matter what the issues are, that's the voice of the people we're listening to. It's not about us. We have we have power to vote, but if we're not voting for the choices that they want, in the way they want by majority, then we're a pointless venture here. So it was just nice to see. And I would hope that the community did more of that, because it's hard to make decisions when you don't know what the people want. And a lot of us don't follow Facebook and know what the people want off that. So it was just nice to see, and no, that's it.
And to follow up on that, it's also makes it easier for clarification. People can explain it a lot better in front of you and having to.
Yeah, there's instant feedback and hopefully more clarity in communication. Kyle?
No, sir.
Well, I'd just kind of leap onto what Chris was saying. I agree. And, you know, something I really respect is when people come, and I know people get nervous and people don't like going to meetings. Fun fact, I don't either, but I go to a lot of them. I really appreciate though when people have the gumption, whether I agree with them or not, doesn't matter, to come forward and speak and come talk to the council. I tell 50 times more people they should come to council than we'll ever see, but it's really good to see people come and you know, get their viewpoint out there, because we don't know everything. If we don't hear about it from somebody, then we're never going to know. And if you can come and share that and share your take in a respectful way, that's democracy in action.
Even disrespectful.
Well, I appreciate the respectful more.
Yeah, but even if they're upset.
Yeah,
that's
correct.
And sometimes they can actually make you change your mind. 'Cause
Absolutely.
You come to the meeting, already know what you're gonna do, and after you hear them talk.
Yeah.
Then they can make you change your mind.
Everybody should be willing to change their mind when presented with new information. Right. So that's why I want all the information we can get. All right. If there's nothing else.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
So moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.